To be an effective search engine optimizer, it's critical that you know code. Basic code, like HTML, is how web pages are built. And so the better you understand HTML, the better an optimizer you're going to be. In addition, the more you understand servers and server settings and how web pages are downloaded, how web pages are created, how they move from the server to the browser is going to be critical in making you a better search engine optimizer. Now, when I talk about HTML markup, the critical areas that we're going to need to know and that we're going to focus on in the optimization is the page title, the meta information, H1, H2, and H3, links, and alt attributes, just to name a few, but these are the primary areas that when you initially optimize a web page, these are the first areas that you look at. So I hope you're not intimidated by code, because we're going to go through and look at each one of these areas and see how they are used and what they look like in the code in order to enable you to be a better optimizer. So when we look at page structure, where we want to find most of the information that we're interested in is in the heading of the code. It's very easy to spot because it's at the top of the code page and it's preceded with head. And when you look in the heading, that's where you find the title. And the title is contained in between the two title tags. You have an opening tag and a closing tag with that / that closes the tag. Now, a meta description is a description of the page. A meta keyword is a keyword list of keywords that are relevant to the content on the page. Those three areas are contained in the heading. Now, page titles are the most important thing that you can do in search engine optimization. I tell people this is about 80% of your total on-page optimization effort is the page title. Search engines are particularly interested in the page title, and we know that because that's what they show in the search engine results as the largest font with the brightest color that's easiest to read. Because the search engines put so much emphasis on the page title in the search engine results page, we want to put emphasis on that in our optimization. Here's an example of what that looks like. The page title, when you go to the page, is at the top of the browser, and it's also in the search engine result. And when you look in the code, it's in the title bracket, and you can see that at the top of the code. Now, the black text that's in the snippet, that's the description, and that comes from the meta description. And you can see that in the code here, where it says meta name equals description, content equals, and that's where you put the content, and that's where the search engines pull that information into that snippet of information. Now, your meta description is very rarely, if ever, used as part of the ranking algorithm. The most important factor of the meta description is that it's used in the description in the search engine results page. Again, I've said this before, but your snippet is the first marketing message a searcher will see about your site. So the time you spend in developing a clear title and a clear description will pay off in the long run because you are attracting people to click your result when you have that visibility. Now, when we look at page structure, I talked about this earlier, the H1, the H2, and the H3, and you can even go into an H4. Really, H stands for heading. H1 is your primary headline. Think about it in terms of a newspaper. There's always one very large headline. That's our H1. There are subheadings, H2. Then there are, I like to call them paragraph headings. They're smaller. And then there are even smaller headings that are used for captions, bold text, but they're arranged in order of how large and impactful they are. So obviously, your headline is going to be the most important. Your subheadings are sub-content. They're second most important. Your third most important information are paragraph headings. And so what you want to do is think of a newspaper and how a newspaper is structured when you develop your headline, subheadings, paragraph headings, and other organizing headings in your content. The next thing you need to know is a link. This is how you code a link. Ahref means reference. When you click on this link, it goes to this page. Now, the dots there are where you can put what we call anchor text. The text that you put in between those two brackets will show up as the underlined text. And so what you're giving the browser the instructions to do is take this text and link it to another page. And so that link text is what we're really looking at, because link text becomes vitally important in later lessons as we talk about optimizing and getting other websites to link to you. Now, it comes down to just basic text markup. It's fairly easy. If you understand where we're going with this HTML, these are going to be very obvious to you. You can use bold or strong. You can use italics. It's very easy to figure out most of this stuff. You can also do an unorganized list. That's what UL stands for. And when you use UL as an unorganized list, that means you are going to have bullet points. When you use organized list, that's OL, instead of bullet points, you will have numbers. And so how you use bullet points or lists, you can create those in the code. And again, this is a way that allows search engines to know what is important information, what is information that's being alluded to, what's being listed. And so as you go through this course, it helps that you know HTML. If you don't know, this is the primer, but you should learn more. If you already know it, then you're ahead of the game. But most of search engine optimization, when dealing with a brand new site, is troubleshooting, and it really helps to know what code means what and what elements are necessary. And if you want to be a great SEO with a lot of experience, it's going to require an extensive knowledge of HTML and maybe even some programming languages, because you're going to have to make quick edits and know what you're talking about when you're asking other people to make changes on their website.